Imagine sitting down, right, with a massive new client. You ask for their meticulously crafted creative brief, and then you just throw it directly into the trash.
Which is a pretty fantastic way to get fired immediately.
Oh, absolutely. It
Yeah.
really is. But according to the methodology we are diving into today, throwing out the brief might actually be the only way to survive what digital marketing has become.
Yeah, the only way to actually get ahead.
Right. So welcome to today's deep dive. Today is Sunday, May 3rd, 2026, and we are speaking directly to you. Yes, you, the professional marketing student.
The one sitting in the back of the lecture hall.
Exactly. You are probably sitting in lectures right now looking at this brutally saturated industry and wondering how on earth you're actually going to get an edge. I mean, every agency on the planet has access to the exact same keyword planners, right?
Right, and the exact same data. It's the defining bottleneck of the modern industry right now.
Okay, let's unpack this. Traditional marketing operates on a very predictable, kind of highly efficient loop, doesn't it?
It does. Very efficient. The client hands over a brief. The agency does, keyword research based on that exact brief. They execute the campaign. And then, well, they just wait for the clicks.
They wait for the magic to happen. But that efficiency is actually a trap.
It's a massive trap.
Why is that loop a trap, though? I mean, if everyone is doing it, isn't that just the cost of entry? Like table stakes?
You'd think so, but it is a trap because it forces every single agency to compete for the exact same existing search volume.
At the exact same time.
At the exact same time, you are fighting over demand that already exists in the market. Most marketing, by definition, simply answers demand.
Right.
The client says, we sell shoes, so you go find people who are already searching for shoes. But the approach we are analyzing today from Titan Digital Marketing...
The philosophy they call contextual agility.
Exactly. Contextual agility flips that entirely. It does not answer demand, it creates it.
Which brings us back to throwing the brief in the trash.
Precisely. Because Titan analyzed their most successful, highest converting campaigns, and they found this just staggering data point.
I couldn't believe this when I read it.
Right. 100% of the campaigns documented in this contextual agility methodology originated completely outside the client brief.
Wait, literally zero.
Zero ideas came from the client.
Not even like a seed of an idea.
None. And honestly, when you think about the psychology of a business, it makes perfect sense.
How so?
Well, if the idea comes from the client, it's based on their internal priorities, right? Their seasonal calendar, their generic industry promotions, their quarterly targets.
The stuff everyone else has?
Exactly. And guess what? Your client's competitors are doing the exact same internal math.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
By looking outward into the external environment, you find the uncontested windows of opportunity that competitors do not even know exist yet.
You are scanning the horizon, basically.
Yeah, to see what the market suddenly needs to buy rather than just, waiting for the client to tell you what to sell.
Okay, I have to push back here because if you are a marketing student listening right now, your alarm bells might be ringing.
No, for sure.
Conceptually, that sounds great. But practically, isn't this just, well, newsjacking?
Ah, the famous buzzword.
Right. Like, we have seen brands jump on Twitter trends or cultural moments for over a decade, and it always feels a bit cheap to me.
It usually is.
But how does the audience not see right through a brand? Just trying to piggyback on some organic moment. It feels like a surfer trying to catch a wave that's already, like, crashed onto the beach.
That is a really crucial distinction to make because the two things are so often confused in the industry. What's fascinating here is the structural difference.
Okay, break that down for us.
Think of it this way. Reactive marketing, or newsjacking, is like trying to jump onto a moving train.
Right.
The trend is already speeding along, it has already peaked, and the brand is just clinging to the side, hoping someone notices them. There is no actual relevance to what they sell.
They're just forcing a connection for visibility. Like a fast food brand tweeting about a celebrity breakup.
Exactly.
It gets likes, but it doesn't actually sell burgers.
It doesn't move the needle at all. Contextual agility, on the other hand, is not jumping on the moving train. It is laying the traps down right where you know the train is headed.
Oh, I like that.
It requires a genuine structural link between the external event and the client's actual offer. The signal from the environment and the offer from the business must be the exact same conversation.
The exact same conversation.
Right. If you have to stretch to make the connection make sense, or if you have to explain the joke to the audience, you are just newsjacking.
So how do we actually lay those tracks? How do we spot these signals before the train even arrives?
Well, the source material breaks this down into three very specific types of signals we need to be scanning for.
Okay, let's look at the first one, which honestly, when I read it, sounds like the most boring place on earth to look for marketing inspiration.
You are talking about regulatory and compliance triggers.
The profoundly boring stuff. I mean, municipal bylaws, tax rulings, obscure zoning changes published in local government gazettes. Who is reading that?
Almost nobody, which is why it works. They might be boring to read, but they are incredibly lucrative.
Because they create immediate compliance urgency, right?
Yes. When a new regulation passes, the people affected do not have a choice. They have to spend money to comply.
And the window of opportunity here is wonderfully wide. Because compliance timelines usually span, what, weeks or even months?
Sometimes even a year. It's a slow-moving, massive opportunity.
Let's ground this in the real world for our student listener, because the mechanics of this first case study really highlight the difference between answering demand and creating it.
It really does.
So we have this mid-sized concrete contractor, bet in Montreal. The city of Montreal quietly passes a building code update.
Very quietly.
Right. They mandate a specific structural thickness and mandatory non-slip surfaces for concrete balconies on residential and commercial properties. And there was no major press conference. No industry-wide siren went off. It was just a buried update in some municipal ledger.
Which is exactly where the traditional marketing model breaks down completely.
How so?
Well, look at Benham Montreal's competitors. They were acting like horses with blinders on,
Just staring straight ahead.
only monitoring their own industry. They were funneling thousands of dollars into generic concrete repair near me search ads.
Yeah, fighting over the same 5 keywords.
Exactly. They were entirely focused on the service they provided, completely ignoring the regulatory environment adjacent to that service.
Meanwhile, the agency scanning the horizon for Beton Montreal sees this quiet little update and realizes the gold mine it represents.
It's a huge gold mine.
But, and here's where I want to play devil's advocate and challenge the strategy. They didn't spin up an ad saying, hey, we do concrete.
No, they didn't.
They built a campaign around the new bylaw. But if I am a property owner and I am stressed out about a municipal fine and suddenly a concrete company is targeting me, doesn't that risk confusing the customer?
You'd think so, but no.
Isn't that a bait and switch?
It is not a bait and switch because they were not selling concrete.
Wait, what were they selling then?
This is the core psychological shift of contextual agility. People do not wake up wanting to buy concrete.
Fair point. I certainly don't.
Right. They buy what the concrete achieves. Bid in Montreal advertised the path to compliance.
Oh, wow.
They framed the entire message around the specific bylaw requirements, the looming deadline, and the financial risk of non-compliance fines.
So they were essentially selling protection from the city. The concrete was just the delivery mechanism for that protection.
Exactly. If you are taking notes right now in your marketing class, circle this.
Seriously, circle it twice, because your textbook is telling you to optimize your SEO for concrete repair.
Which everyone is doing.
But the real money, the uncontested space, is in optimizing for municipal fine avoidance.
And look at the result. Because they framed it around compliance, they intercepted the customer long before the customer ever realized they needed to search for a concrete company.
That's brilliant.
Beat in Montreal captured the compliance-motivated segment of the market before their competitors even woke up and realized the law had changed.
They were fielding inbound calls and signing contracts while everyone else was still locked in a bidding war over generic, expensive keywords.
Because the signal, the new bylaw, and the offer fixing the balconies were the exact same conversation.
The regulation literally manifested the demand for the client's core service.
It's a perfect example of a wide, slow-moving window. Government regulations take time. But the methodology also applies to environments that are highly volatile and incredibly fast.
Right. Regulations give you weeks or months, but what happens when the window is only 72 hours? Let's move from the slow bureaucracy to the daily news cycle.
News cycle triggers operate on an entirely different psychological mechanism.
They're a lot more chaotic, right?
Very. They are all about public confusion or latent anxiety.
Yeah.
When a news story breaks that contradicts what the public thought they knew, it creates a massive, immediate vacuum for clarity.
And the absolute best triggers here are counterintuitive, where the headline screams one thing, but the reality is deeply nuanced.
Exactly.
We have a fascinating case study for this from the source material, the Canadian casino audit. Now, in Canada, the general assumption, basically common knowledge, is that casino winnings are tax-free.
Right. Everyone believes that.
But then, a local news story breaks about a Canadian man who was heavily audited and aggressively taxed by the government on his casino winnings. Here's where it gets really interesting.
Think about what that headline does. It shatters the common knowledge. Suddenly, every single person who gambles regularly has this pit in their stomach.
Total panic.
But the nuance, the part that actually creates the marketing opportunity, is buried in the details of the ruling.
What were the details?
The Canada Revenue Agency determined that this specific man's habitual gambling had crossed a legal threshold. It was no longer recreational luck. It had become a pattern of income generation.
Oh, so it wasn't just a lucky night at the slots.
Right. Under the law, if your winnings constitute a primary or supplementary income source, they can be assessed as taxable revenue.
But most people had absolutely no idea that threshold even existed. So this news story instantly creates widespread, latent anxiety.
Massive anxiety.
The regular gamblers are sitting at home wondering, wait, do I gamble too much? Am I going to get audited? Do I owe the government thousands of dollars?
It creates a tension that desperately needs resolving. And this is where a contextually agile accounting firm stepped in to lay the tracks.
Let's break down the mechanics of how they executed this, because they didn't just run a generic tax season is here, hire us promo.
No, because a generic promo does not resolve the specific anxiety the news cycle just created.
Right. It just adds to the noise.
Instead, they activated a highly targeted campaign, specifically titled, "What Actually Happens When You Win Big at the Casino?"
Oh, that is so smart. It was a direct answer to an urgent, terrifying public question.
Exactly. They explained the Canada Revenue Agency's distinction between recreational winnings and assessed revenue.
So they gave away the answer for free.
Yes, and by doing so, they positioned themselves not as generic accountants, but as the specialized professional resource uniquely qualified to navigate this specific threat.
It is brilliant because they didn't have to convince anyone they needed an accountant. The news cycle did the hard work of scaring the audience.
The marketing simply offered the life raft.
And the conversion metrics reflect that. They drove unprecedented traffic. But more importantly, it wasn't just window shoppers.
Not at all.
They acquired frequent gamblers with consistent winnings who realized they needed long-term accounting help to protect their assets.
They converted a news-induced panic into some of their highest value accounts of the entire year.
And all within a 72-hour window.
If we step back and analyze why that worked, it proves that attention in digital marketing is not just about being loud.
Right.
It is about being the most useful, clarifying voice in the room at the exact moment the room gets confused.
Okay, so news cycles are great for quick, 72-hour bursts of high conversion driven by anxiety. But what if you need a campaign to sustain a brand for an entire year?
You need a different approach.
Yeah, you cannot rely on a fleeting panic to build long-term brand equity. You need to tap into something much deeper.
You need to tap into aspiration and identity, which brings us to the third signal type, cultural moments.
This is where we move from government ledgers and tax audits into the glamorous world of global media.
Much more fun.
Definitely. Cultural moments are generated by film releases, global events, or, massive viral media trends.
And while news cycles close in a few days, a cultural aesthetic can sustain for months or even years because it is tied to how people want to be perceived.
Picture this scenario. A recent James Bond film hits theaters. There is a specific visual moment that just takes over global editorial coverage.
I know exactly the scene you're talking about.
Daniel Craig is ascending a sun-drenched staircase in Italy, wearing this perfect, understated linen summer suit.
It's iconic.
It instantly sparks a massive old money aesthetic trend globally. Magazines, influencers, fashion blogs, everyone is suddenly obsessed with this very specific European leisure vibe.
The film crystallized a cultural appetite. The old money aesthetic was already bubbling up quietly on social media, but the movie provided the single most shared, highest profile visual reference point.
It gave the trend a face. But if I put myself in the shoes of the marketing student listening to this, I see a massive legal wall here.
Oh, a huge one.
How does a mid-sized menswear brand legally capitalize on a billion-dollar movie franchise without getting sued into oblivion?
You certainly cannot use stills from the film.
You can't just slap Daniel Craig's face on your e-commerce store.
No, absolutely not. This is where contextual agility turns a severe legal constraint into a creative triumph.
Okay, tell us about Stone Rose.
So the client in this case study is Stone Rose, a high-end menswear brand. They wanted to capture that massive wave of aspiration, but they couldn't use the actor, the character name, or the movie title.
So what did they do?
They utilized AI to bridge the gap.
Walk us through the how of this, because it sounds like a legal tightrope.
It is entirely about understanding visual grammar versus intellectual property.
Visual grammar.
Yeah. They generated a hyper-realistic AI avatar of an anonymous, non-existent male model.
Okay.
They styled this avatar in actual stone rose apparel and then placed him in a digitally generated setting that perfectly mimicked the visual grammar of that famous film moment.
A sun-drenched Italian staircase.
The exact same quality of light, the same architectural feeling.
So they are recreating the vibe of the movie without touching the actual copyrighted material.
Precisely. And it is crucial to note how they navigated the regulatory compliance aspect of this as well.
Because they were operating this campaign in the UAE market, right?
Right. They had to adhere to the National Media Council guidelines regarding the use of artificial intelligence in advertising.
What do those rules say?
Those rules mandate strict disclosure if AI is used to depict recognizable, real individuals in a way that could, mislead consumers or create deepfakes.
I see.
But because Stone Rose used an entirely anonymous, purely generated avatar, not a real or named person, they complied perfectly with the regulations.
They bypassed the legal landmines of both Hollywood copyright and regional AI laws.
Completely. They didn't mention James Bond once.
They framed the entire campaign around the aesthetic itself, old money summer, and dress like you are on a summer vacation in Italy.
The connection they made was purely cultural. They captured the exact feeling the audience was searching for.
And the long-term payoff here is staggering compared to the 72-hour news window.
It really is.
Framed as old money summer, this single campaign drove so much targeted traffic that it became Stone Rose's highest converting page.
Wow.
And because that old money cultural current outlasted the movie's time in theaters, that landing page sustained high-volume traffic for years.
They built a permanent revenue-generating asset out of a temporary pop culture moment.
Which brings us to the most important part of this entire deep dive, the operational reality.
Yes, philosophy and case studies are great, but execution is what actually matters in your career.
Contextual agility is not a one-off trick, is it?
No, it is a standing habit. It has to become your daily operational rhythm.
Let's translate this into a concrete playbook for the student listening right now. How do you actually build this engine? The source material outlines 4 steps. Step 1, map your signal sources before you need them.
Because you cannot find the signal if you are not already looking.
Right.
You have to build a weekly reading routine that looks outward. For regulatory signals, that means monitoring government gazettes, municipal updates, and tax authority circulars in your client's region.
And for news.
For news, it means setting up alerts for regional news sources. For culture, it is monitoring trend publications and social listening tools.
I want to pause on step 1, because if I am a solo marketing student or working at a tiny boutique agency, I do not have a 20-person research team.
Most people don't.
How do I practically map these sources without spending 40 hours a week reading municipal tax codes?
You leverage automation for the gathering phase.
Okay.
You set up specialized RSS feeds. You create Google alerts for highly specific keyword combinations, not for your client's product, but for the regulatory terms adjacent to it.
Like balcony bylaw instead of concrete.
Exactly. You follow niche local journalists on social media who cover city hall or regional business law. You curate a dashboard so the information comes to you, and you spend your time analyzing it, not searching for it.
That makes a lot of sense.
Oh,
So
yeah.
step 2, test the connection. When one of those alerts flashes, you must ask yourself, is there a direct structural line to what the client sells?
Does the balcony regulation create literal mandatory demand for concrete work? Yes.
Does the casino story create acute anxiety about accounting?
Yes. If we connect this to the bigger picture, this is the critical filter. If you find a signal, but you have to explain the connection to the audience before they care, abandon the idea.
Do not force it.
Right. If the connection isn't instantly obvious to the consumer, it is just newsjacking and it will fail.
Step 3, brief and approve fast. Now, I have worked in agencies. The idea of getting a client to approve a budget, a message, and a creative asset in 24 to 72 hours sounds impossible.
That sounds like a nightmare.
Clients can take a week just to approve a font color. How on earth do you legally pre-agree to a budget for a campaign that does not even exist yet?
Internal delay is absolutely the killer of contextual agility. If you wait for standard approval, the window will close.
So what's the workaround?
The solution is establishing pre-agreed parameters during the initial client onboarding. You do not ask for a budget when the signal hits. You carve out an agility retainer or a contingency budget on day one.
Oh, that's clever.
You sit down with the client and agree on the messaging boundaries, the visual guardrails, and the tone of voice long before any signals happen.
So you are basically saying, give us $5,000 a month that we can deploy instantly without calling you, as long as we stay within these specific brand guidelines.
Exactly. You build a fast-track, pre-approved framework. You act as an autonomous unit within those agreed-upon borders.
Which leads directly to step 4. Frame the message around this signal, not the product. Position the client's offer as the resolution to the tension the signal just created.
Do not sell concrete. Sell the path to municipal compliance. Do not sell generic tax prep. Answer the public's immediate panic.
The signal generates the audience, your offer simply converts it.
It requires a fundamental shift in how you view your role as a marketer. You are no longer just an order taker executing a brief.
You are their lookout.
Yes, you are the person sitting in the crow's nest, telling the captain where the open water is.
So what does this all mean for you, the marketing student about to enter the workforce? It means you need to stop staring exclusively at your keyword planner.
Everyone else in your graduating class is already staring at it.
Start scanning the horizon. Real marketing agility isn't just about executing a brief quickly. It's about being the very first person to see the opportunity in the real world before the brief even needs to exist.
If you can master that, if you can spot the regulatory shift, the news anxiety, or the cultural aesthetic before the rest of the industry, you will never have to fight over crowded search terms again.
You'll be operating in an entirely uncontested space.
But
But that leaves us with a massive question about the future of this uncontested space.
it does.
I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over after you finish listening today. Contextual agility relies on the fact that your competitors are lazy.
Right. Yeah, they aren't bothering to read obscure municipal updates or connect complex cultural dots.
But what happens to this wide-open window as AI tools become capable of instantly scanning, reading, and flagging these signals for every agency simultaneously?
That's the terrifying part.
If an AI can read a new tax law and instantly generate a campaign strategy in real time, will that first-mover advantage shrink from 72 hours down to 72 seconds? And if it does, how are you going to differentiate your strategy then?
That is the new landscape you're going to have to figure out how to navigate.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep scanning the horizon, keep questioning the status quo, and we will catch you next time.